If you've watched waves roll in for an hour without ever getting bored, and without once feeling like you should be doing something more productive with the time. If the smell of salt air can drop you straight back into a childhood memory you hadn't thought about in years. If just seeing a photo of the ocean made your shoulders come down half an inch before you even noticed it happening. Welcome, none of that is laziness. There's real mechanics behind it. Or maybe you know someone like this. The friend who wants zero itinerary on a beach trip, no plan, no gear list, nothing to figure out. The 40-year-old who gets fully absorbed digging a hole in the sand without a shred of self-consciousness about it. The person whose best ideas seem to arrive out of nowhere while they're just staring at the horizon. Here's the first thing worth understanding, and it starts with something surprisingly specific about the sound itself. Ocean waves produce what acousticians call pink noise, a pattern where the lower frequencies dominate, but the sound keeps shifting in small ways instead of repeating exactly. It's structured without ever becoming monotonous. Every wave is different. Every wave is still recognizably a wave. That combination is part of why the sound is so widely described as soothing, and researchers studying what they call blue spaces, oceans, lakes, rivers, have found this kind of environment tends to be genuinely restorative rather than just pleasant in a vague way. The brain isn't working hard to process it. That's precisely why it gets to rest. There's a real contrast worth naming here, and it isn't about one landscape being better than the other. A mountain constantly conceals information, another valley behind that ridge, a bend in the trail you can't see past yet. And a lot of people find that kind of mystery genuinely energizing. A beach does close to the opposite. Stand on the sand and you can usually see clear to the horizon. Few hidden corners, few surprises waiting to reveal themselves. Researchers studying landscape preference describe this as a highly readable environment, and for a lot of people that predictability isn't boring at all. It's exactly what feels like relief. Different environments seem to be answering two different psychological questions. One asking what's beyond the next ridge, the other asking what happens if you simply stay here. That readability doesn't mean nothing is happening. Either, watching a wave is a textbook example of what attention researchers call soft fascination. Your focus gets gently held instead of demanded. Part of that comes from a small, ongoing puzzle your brain runs without you noticing, guessing where the next wave will break and how far it will reach up the sand. The guess is never quite exact. That small, low-stakes uncertainty is enough to keep attention loosely engaged for a long time without ever tipping into anything close to exhausting. The sensory side of this experience runs deeper than most people give it credit for, too. Smell is processed through brain regions tightly wired to memory and emotion, which is part of why a single breath of sea air can pull up a specific vacation from 20 years ago faster than almost anything else could. Walking barefoot adds another layer entirely, sand shifting constantly under your feet, forcing small physical adjustments with every step, which some psychologists think contributes to a stronger sense of simply being present in a moment instead of somewhere else in your head. None of this is nothing. It's a different kind of richness than a mountain trail offers, sensory rather than exploratory. That low mental demand seems to free up space for something else entirely, which might explain why so many writers have described the ocean as a place where ideas arrive more easily. Virginia Woolf, Ernest Hemingway, and Rachel Carson all wrote about the sea as a kind of creative trigger. And while that's anecdotal on its own, it lines up with what restorative environment research suggests happens when the brain isn't spending its energy processing a complicated scene. The extra room gets handed over to whatever was quietly waiting in the back of your mind. Time itself seems to bend a little out there too. People consistently describe an afternoon at the beach as feeling longer in memory than an equivalent afternoon spent almost anywhere else, which researchers studying leisure tie to an environment with fewer deadlines and fewer interruptions demanding attention. Now here's the part almost nobody expects, and it says something a little touching about what a beach actually gives people permission to do. Put most adults in front of a pile of sand and something strange happens. They start digging, building, collecting shells for no practical reason at all. It's a kind of behavior that would look completely out of place in almost any other setting. An actual grown adult on their knees in the wet sand, focused entirely on a moat around a castle that will be gone by the tide. The environment quietly removes the self-consciousness that would normally shut that down anywhere else. And the shell hunting itself runs on a genuine psychological mechanism, resembling a low-stakes treasure hunt where the reward is unpredictable and mostly worthless. And researchers studying foraging behavior have found humans enjoy exactly that kind of variable, low-stakes discovery, regardless of whether anything valuable ever turns up. Some of this response gets built over time rather than showing up automatically. After enough vacations spent unwinding near water, the brain starts forming a fairly strong association. Ocean equals rest. Until eventually the sight of a beach alone can start triggering some of that same relaxed feeling before a single wave has even been heard. That's less like an instinct switching on and more like a habit the nervous system built for itself, one repetition at a time. None of this means mountains fail at what they offer, and it's worth being fair about that. Mountains tend to reward effort, preparation, and the specific satisfaction of having earned a view the hard way. Beaches reward something almost the opposite: low effort, wide accessibility. A kind of rest that doesn't require any particular fitness level or gear to reach. Which is part of why beaches so naturally become shared spaces for families and groups spanning every age and physical ability in a way a steep trail sometimes can't. There's a visual signature to all of this too. Blue is one of the more consistently calming colors across color psychology research, and an ocean horizon immerses a person in it at a scale almost nothing else does, especially at sunset. When the unobstructed line of the sea lets the light linger far longer than it would behind a skyline or a ridge, often producing exactly the kind of gratitude and quiet emotional lift researchers associate with awe. This split isn't new either. For much of history, beaches were considered rough, laboring places rather than anywhere restful, until physicians in the 1700s and 1800s began prescribing sea air and cold water bathing for various illnesses, slowly turning the coast into a symbol of leisure instead of hardship. A mountain summit still tends to represent achievement, something climbed toward and reached. A beach mostly represents release, no summit required, no finish line waiting at the end of it, just permission to stop moving for a while. Subscribe and watch this video next.